I might well upon Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barak Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Asherah Athananawa Hashabath Bashalawam to Wadaman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the Sabbath and peace. Thank you, so be it. Ta'ali Ma'ar Sharai Machad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayam Ayamya O Haryam Mayan Yabawa Isaiah Yabawa Maya Howish Aisha Shemayam Warataza La Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La Yanawam Wala Yeshan Shashwaba Yashvele Yahweh Shemaria Yahweh Tazalia Ayel Yad Yam Yad Yawamam Hashamash La Kaya Wayarak La Balayela Yahweh Yashamaria Makau Ra Yashaman Napashya Yahweh Yashamak Habalakya Wabuaya Ma'aita wa Aida Walam Basham Yahweh Shai the water Amen. All right, so lock in. Psalm 121, a song of degrees. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen. Shemaiah Sharela, hear, O Israel. Shemai Yasharele Yahweh Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Shemai Yasharele Yahweh Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Shemai Yasharele Yahweh Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen. Kapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa Sheba Shemayim Kudash Hayya Shemke Yahweh Malakwaf Kab Taba'a Rataza One Kab Hayya Aisha Barataza Kab Shemayim Nathan Lanawa Lacham Yawan Zad Wasalak Lanawa Kabawat Nawa Kasalach Nawa Kabawat Yanawa Wala'ad Abiyanawa Oh, Messiah one above, I was shine over Maran, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, wa Allah, wa Thapara, wa Iwalam, Aman. Matthew 6 and 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Aisharam wealth, Ten Commandments. La Yahaya La Ka Alahayim Karyam Alapanya La Aisha La Ka Paso Wala Thayabadam La Talakwaka Shamwa Yahweh Alahayaka Lashawa Zakar Ath Hayawam Hashabath Lakodashwa Kabad Abiyaka Wa Amaka La Tharatazak La Tanaap La Taganap La Ta'ainat Shakur La Tachamad Ko Asheret La Ra'ika Amen. Exodus 20:3. Thou shalt know other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen. Yeshabwa, please be seated. Barakatha Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Asherah Thananawa Paria Gapan Thawada Aman. La Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ath Yasher Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Ahmad Wa Panyawa Jerusalem. Stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatha Yahweh Hagado Rakawam Abiyah Wanawa Eliyawan Malak Shao Shamayim Warataza Wakal the Barium Kayayam Wagam Hamashiyak Mayahawa Arawanawa Ahabnawa Hapalat Yawa Aitiza Yahawasha Zakarnawa Yahawa Bartazawan Ainka Yasha'ala Azarnawa Bana wa Asap Yasha'ala O Nanawa Yam Yan Aita Kayawamyam Makwadam Babakusha Shalak Mike Allah Watazwadak Alahayam La Maganawa Raparnawa Washama Ilnawa Ba'ikwa Shalak Haroka Shao Yahweh Shai Lanawa Lalamanawa Rabian Kakamab Tabawana Wada I Shao the Barka Basham Yahweh Shai the Wada Them Yad I will Amen. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, a wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remembers Yahweh favorably your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, most high, we beg you right now. like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushua to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, HaTorah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Awar, Lara Awat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Quran, Hayo, La Korah, Ha'aim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Hasheman, Zayath, Lamashak, Yasha'ala. Yeshabwa, be seated. Okay, so Shalom Yasharella. So shalom everyone that's here in Philly. Shalom everyone that's watching us on live stream. And shalom everyone listening in on teleconference. Welcome to Ashrala Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the descendants of slaves, as well as the indigenous peoples found mainly here in the Americas, make up the southern and northern kingdom of the 12 tribes of Israel. And that we fall into a lower state politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible, and that we come out as lowest state we fall into by keeping these commandments we broke, by keeping these commandments again, along with applying the grace and truth that comes with the fruit of the Spirit. So we come together to keep the Sabbath holy, as we see our forefathers did, namely our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ, from Friday, Sunday, to Saturday, sundown, weekly, to the best of our ability. And as our particular branch of Christ does, we regularly go through a Sabbath service. As you can see in the header of the video, today's reading is going to be 1 Kings chapters 19 and 20. Once again, 1 Kings chapter 19 and 20 will be our reading for today. My name is Nabia Zerubbabel. I have the privilege of going through the service with you guys this morning. All thanks be to the Most High in Christ by way of the Holy Spirit, by Baria, Barakatah Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, La Haruch HaKodash. So let's get into it. So write down for your notes. According to the Gregorian calendar that most of the West goes by, it would be February 17th, 2024. But according to our calendar, it would be the 12th month and the 8th day. Please mind my presentation today. A little nasal. Body's resisting, I guess, a cold, if you will, and showing some symptoms, especially yesterday and today. But I'll try to present as clearly as possible. So let's get into the lesson. Before we do, when we go to 1 Kings 19, we have a major event that's happening. As you see in the title of the video, Elijah enters the picture, which as you get later on in Kings, we're going to see more things that he does, mighty acts that he commits, that he does, similar to like Elijah and the mighty acts that he's done already and that he's going to continue to do. So a worthy successor to the great Elijah being Elisha, being introduced in this chapter. But I like to make visual references to one of our 7 tools that every Hebrew or Hebrewess should have, which is the Bible Atlas. I'll post a link in the chat. This is a free one that you can access from the internet. That's pretty good. I'll post a link there. I'm going to be pulling first from, for this chapter 19, I'm going to be pulling from number 62 in this PDF of the Bible Atlas. Each of the maps is numbered. The number on this one, I believe, is 62. Let me just verify that. But here's the link. Let's go to, let me share this with you guys so you guys can see. So this number here, let me see. Yeah. So this map pertains to different events that cover Elijah and Elisha's exploits. If you look at the bottom of this map, and I'll zoom in, but hopefully it won't get too grainy for you guys. Hopefully the picture will be clear. But see right here, it says, Elijah finds refuge in the wilderness before journeying to Mount Horeb. You see that here at the bottom. Oops, too far over. So this being the southern part of Israel, along with, which is not mentioned here specifically, but it's in this region where Elijah and Elisha meet, and then he somewhat reluctantly anoints him to be his successor. But we know it was all written in the heavens before it would happen. But when I read, you'll see what I mean. See, this is from map number 62, and then we get to the next chapter. I'll pull up another map to depict some of the events that's going to happen there. But let's get into 1 Kings 19 and verse 1 now. So let me, so I'll add the map later when we get to the next chapter. So now this is 1 Kings chapter 19 and verse 1, which reads, And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. So if we go back to last week, remember that we pretty much went through this last time we went through 1 Kings chapters 17 and 18, right? About Elijah showing them up, showing the power of the Most High compared to Baal, how he didn't come through for their offering, no matter how many prophets were out there running and dancing, yelling and cutting themselves. Whereas Elijah did one prayer, set up his offering, put water on it just to add insult to injury, and one prayer, and the Most High sent the fire down, just like that. And then he killed the prophets of Baal, right? And we showed that place on the map where he did it, right? That place, Kidron. So that's what they're talking about here. And don't forget, too, the rain came back. You read that, too, about Ahab riding on his chariot to Jezreel, right? And it says how Elijah ran in front of him, girded his loins and ran in front of him. So just showing how the Spirit was mighty on Elijah for him to do a lot of fantastic exploits, what we might call supernatural, if you will. But now reading on in 1 Kings 19 and verse 2, it says, Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. So, shots fired. Pretty much put a hit out on him. Tomorrow this time, you'll be dead just like those prophets. This if I make not thy life, or I should say, so let the gods do to me, and more also. It seems to be a trendy saying. When we get to the next chapter, you'll see this comes up again with another heathen from another nation, but they say something similar. But anyway, so that's what's going on, right? It's hard out here for a prophet, especially during these times. It says in verse 3, and when he saw that, he arose and went for his life and came to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah, and left his servant there. So like what I showed you in the map earlier, we're in the southern region of Judah, right, where Beersheba is. Remember, anytime you see a place that begins with Beer, that prefix just means the well of. So you would literally translate it into like the well of Sheba. But anyway, reading on to verse 4, but he himself, still talking about Elijah, now realizing that, okay, I'm like on the equivalent of what we would call like the FBI's most wanted list. You go into the post office, see the pictures, right? Elijah's face is pretty much like at the very top. So to kind of put it into perspective. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die and said, it is enough now, my Lord. Take away my life, for I'm not better than my fathers. So he said, you know what? I had a good run. I still feel righteousness. It's my time to go. Please take me. Right? So that's his earnest prayer to God at this point, given he's in a tight spot. Right? A really tight spot. It says in verse 5, and as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baking on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. It says in verse 7, and the angel Yahweh came again the second time. He touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. So Elohim came for him 2 times in a row to provide him with meat and drink. So just a little tidbit. We like to always touch on this because people will have these hypotheticals they'll throw out there of different backgrounds, whether you be so-called Christian or so-called, or I should say, or Islamic, right? Or different religions, and they say, listen, you guys talk about that dietary law, this, that, and the third. If you were stranded on an island or stranded in a certain place, the only thing you had to eat were unclean animals. You mean to tell me you wouldn't eat those? But now we have examples like this to show, no, we wouldn't. Either we would fast and just pray unto the Lord, but look at how the Most High can provide for his prophets, right? To where if we didn't have time to prepare, if we had to flee, due to some sort of like disaster or declare martial law, whatever it might be, whatever situation, the Most High wouldn't provide for his prophets and not compel them to eat unclean meat. But yeah, we'll hear these scenarios kind of thrown back at us when we're out there teaching, especially going to the dietary law. Right? People don't look at it and don't take it as serious as they need to, as they do other laws. But remember what our Lord and Savior said in Matthew 5:19. Whosoever shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least. So let's not take any of the commandments lightly. Let's make sure we keep these things in mind. But it's just a good example of Romans 15:4, things written aforetime, written for our learning. Right? And the Most High will always find the ways for his prophets. Even when we let all of our people out into the wilderness, right, where we didn't have like an infrastructure to really depend on like that, like we had when we were captive in Egypt, Most High provided for his food every day, right? His own food, manna, and gathered on the grass in the morning, right? So let's make sure we read these things and remember these things in case we're faced with something similar as this world that we currently are in, dwindles down as it falls apart. But now, check this out. It says in verse 8, and he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. So we see here one of a few men we read about that actually go for 40 days and 40 nights with no food or drink, a proper fast, as is written in the scriptures. And it's kind of interesting how the Most High will have certain key figures go through this, like we see Moses undergoing something similar. You can just link those verses in Exodus. I'll get it real quick. At number 40, also coming up in different places, right? We were talking about a 40-day fast. We were talking about the 40 days of Goliath boasting, right? We're talking about the 40 days of rain coming down during the time of the flood of Noah, right? It's a good thing or interesting or fun thing to search out. We look up 40. and see how often 40 comes up. So I'll keep an eye out below. So you'll see 40 come up in different places when we do like a search. You'll see that number come up quite often, right? Discussing a certain time frame or depicting a certain time frame. That's significant. But yeah, Exodus 24 and 18 to link with 19 and 8 of 1 Kings. So Exodus 24 and 18. Was the cord black in color, or was it white? Or okay, maybe use the one for the speaker in the meantime, since it's already charged up, if it fits. Exodus 24 and 18 reads, "And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights." We see that 40 days and 40 nights fast here, that the Most High has Moses go through to show him a lot of great things. And then also, Exodus 34 and 28. Look at those two verses. Add 10 to both of them, right? So add 10 to 24, you get 34. Add 10 to 18, you get 28. Nice way to remember those two together. Exodus 34 and 28 reads, "And he," Moses, "was there with the Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water." Right? It says, "And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments." Right? He's being the second group, as we read before and previously. Moses broke the first group of tablets when he came down and saw the people carrying forth in front of the golden calf. He smashed them. So Moses had him write these new ones, and also imprinted in his mind different visual imagery for other laws, as well as the tabernacle and how it's supposed to be set up and the different things in it. So yeah, those were two verses. And then this is also interesting as well. It's in different gospels. I'll get the one at Matthew. Matthew chapter 17. Matthew chapter 17, in verse 1. And it reads, "And after 6 days, Jesus taking Peter, James, and John, his brother." So you'll see, you could probably do a list of this. I know other folks have probably done it out there online. A list of key things that Christ did, but you have certain things that were special that Christ did that he only did in front of his top 3 disciples, which Peter, James, and his brother John, right? Those were his 3 top disciples. So certain things they were privy to, or that he showed them, or demonstrated in front of them. But other things he would tell to the 12 as a whole, and other things he would teach to the 70, because you had a group of 70 that were under him. But within that, you had 12 key men, or key disciples, and within that, you had 3 of his top disciples, which are these 3 right here. So it says, "He bringeth them into a high mountain apart," verse 2, "and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light." Which, if you go back to Exodus, we kind of have a similar scenario. When Moses came down to the fast, his face shone where he had to put a veil on his face because it was too bright to look at. Given all the wisdom and knowledge that was emanating from him, that he was given from the Most High directly. So we see Christ doing something similar here when he transfigures. And now his face, it says, shines as the sun. But now check out who shows up. Verse 3, "And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him." It's how ironic. And when Christ undergoes this, that you have Elias and Moses show up. And it's just so interesting how the 2 of them share this 40-day fast. But not only those 2, but our Lord and Savior Christ himself. When we read on in verse 4, it says, "Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord," or Yahushua in the Hebrew, Lord, Adawan, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elias. So Peter doing, an expected thing, because anytime we read before, anytime the Most High would show one of our forefathers a great vision, they would usually set up some kind of memorial. So Peter's thinking, wow, this is something that's it's very unusual, right? What you're doing. Let's set something up to be a memorial. Verse 5, while he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. But we'll stop there, but you get the idea. But just you see them there present with Christ during his transfiguration. And Christ himself undergoing this, or the 40-day fast as well, like we see with Elijah and Moses. But to show that, I'll stay in Matthew chapter 4. I'll just read verses 1 and 2. So Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. It reads, Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then was Jesus, or Elisha, led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungry. So you see them share this activity, this event. So let's go back to 1 Kings. So back to 1 Kings chapter 19. And now we're in verse 9, but all those verses linked up with verse 8. Once again, Matthew 4, 1 and 2. Before that, Matthew 17, 1 to 8. And then before that, Exodus 24 and 18 and 34 and 28. But back in 1 Kings 19, now we're in verse 9, which reads, And he came hither into a cave and lodged there. And behold, the word of Yahweh came to him. And he said unto him, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous of Yahweh, power of hosts. And we read this during the new moon service, right? We were talking about, the 8 passions or emotions that people consider, negative, that you shouldn't have, but how to direct them in a righteous fashion. Where we see here, our forefather Elijah, he exercises jealousy, but in a righteous fashion, to not want to lose the Most High's attention, right? To not want to lose the Most High's love. And you're going to see, as righteous as he is, even he's in a tough spot and feeling some kind of way, right? Which I think naturally, any of us would be. Right? I don't even know if all of us could keep our composure the way he did. Very jealous for Yahweh, power of hosts, for the children of Israel forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they that seek my life take it away. So as far as you can tell, he's like the last man standing for Yahweh. But Ahab, Jezebel, and those that follow them that are in power, they seek his life, right? He got word of that threat that was put out on him for actually doing what he was supposed to do, right? Whereas they shouldn't be doing what they're dealing with false gods and pushing the people to do the same. Verse 11, and he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before Yahweh. And behold, Yahweh passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and break in pieces the rocks before Yahweh, but Yahweh was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but Yahweh was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but Yahweh was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. So we just had a visitation of, don't laugh, earth, wind, and fire. Folks remember the group, right? So what does this all mean? Let's find out. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entering in of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him. And he said, What doest thou here, Elijah? So his voice coming and asking the same question as he did in verse 9. And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord of hosts, the Lord power of hosts, or Yahweh power of hosts. He said the Most High's name in the Hebrew, Yahweh. Because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I, only am left. And they seek my life to take it away. And Yahweh said unto him, Go return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. So now we go into Damascus on the map, which we'll touch on that when we get into chapter 20. I'll show you that map. That's going more towards the north, right, as opposed to where they're at now in the south. It says, return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. That's the capital of Syria, or uh, Aram. When you go into the table of nations, Genesis 10, the forefather of the Syrians are called Aram. That's where you get the, well, they would be considered the Aramites as far as the Bible is concerned. That's where you even get that, what they call, what they refer to, they say, wait a minute, didn't Christ speak Aramaic? I heard him say that, which you go into Aramaic, it was like a tongue that was a mixture of the Hebrew that we spoke as well as the Assyrian tongue, or the tongue of the Aramites. So that today, as you know, they were making the news pretty heavy. It's just a couple years back during the Trump presidency with the attacks on Syria and claimed they had chemical weapons. And Bashir al-Assad. That was like, he was like the top person everybody was talking about in the news during that time frame. So that's those are the Syrians now. So we're talking about those that they were originally in that land, going back to their ancestors, the Aramites. It says, and Yahweh said unto him, Go return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. Right? So we won't really get into this event. This is going to happen in the future, but we won't read about this today. But as you go further in Kings, this will eventually take place. And it says in verse 16, and Jehu the son of Nimshi shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah, or Meholah, Abel Meholah, shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. So kind of give him a peek into the future as far as the course he wants him to go. It is going into the events they're going to pretty much take control. Once we finish First Kings, go into Second Kings. We'll see the events that lead up to these events transpiring. So we see this Elisha or Elisha being mentioned to Elijah, right? To anoint him to be prophet in that room, as well as this Hazael, king over Syria. But some things have to happen before these things take place. But first, let's cover, like we see in the title, Elisha entering the picture. So now it says in verse 17, and it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay. Him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Right? So going to the judgment that's to go down for certain people in authority, right? In the judgment as far as who's going to carry forth those executions. So we see that succession from the king of Syria to the king of Israel, this Jehu, who's not king yet but will be, and then anyone who escapes from him now is going to fall into the hands of the next prophet to carry on after you, which will be this Elisha. 18. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which have not kissed him. Right? So now some more comforting words for the Most High, not only giving him a mission, but also to comfort him, letting him know, look, in your immediate circle, you may not be aware, but I've got 7,000 that still serve me, right? So as dire as the situation may seem, it may feel like that you're alone in this, but no, you're not the only one that still remains that serves me, right? So give them this information to comfort him, to encourage him, because as strong as we are as individuals, right? Sometimes you can feel, or you might question or doubt yourself when you feel like you're facing situations alone, and like you're the only person that can deal with it. But the Most High can easily show you, look, I've got other folks going through similar things, dealing with similar struggles, even if you don't see it yourself. And then when oftentimes it might be presented you when you feel like, oh, no one understands what I'm going through or what I'm feeling right now. And then the Most High have somebody pop up, and then they might be dealing with you, got what you got going on, sometimes even worse. You just have to, you know what, keep your peace and go, you know what, all right, I kind of got my feelings for a moment. Let me endure, right? Maybe we try something different, but let me endure, because as bad as my pain is, and it's right in front of me, you know, I'm not the only one. Others are going through similar pain, if not worse. But anyway, reading on in verse 19. So he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12. So he had 12 yokes of oxen. So how ironic, right? That it's 12. You know, 12 is a special number, right? Like 40. And he said he's with the 12th one, doing some work in the field. And Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. So it's the spirit kind of revealed, okay, this is who the man is that Christ, I mean, the Most High, I guess Christ, since he's the Word, told me to anoint and to make a prophet in my stead after I'm finished doing what I do. So he takes his mantle and then puts it upon him. It says, and he, referring to Elisha now, left the oxen and ran to Elijah and said, let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, go back again, for what have I done to thee? So Elisha is ready to go. He's like, man, you gave me this mantle? Okay, let's go, right? Wherever you go, I'm going. He says, why are you following me? It's kind of a weird exchange, right? It's just like, go back, right? It's not time for you yet. Maybe, I don't know. But it says, and he returned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. So it's interesting reading this story. I kind of makes you think of what Christ would tell his disciples on the time of the New Testament, almost alluding back to this time, right, where he would say, you know, what man have walked and who have left houses, family, and followed me, right? If you can't do that, you can't be my disciple. If you're not willing to do it, not necessarily you always will be compelled to do it, but will you be willing to do it if it comes to that? So we see a similar dynamic here with Elijah and Elisha, being ready to let go of all that you have, right, and to follow the Lord if it comes to that, and to follow one of his prophets in this specific scenario. See, Christ would tell his disciples, carry very little and follow me, and I'll provide for you going forward. So we see Elisha has this high level of faith as far as what he did and his compassion to the people to share what he had with them as far as these 12 oxen before going to follow Elisha. But now, as we get on in the events of chapter 20, let me just share my screen real quick again. But now, this map, I want to show you guys, not number 62, but it's back a couple. Let me see here. We can get into the map for the Amorite dynasty. So we'll probably come back to this map again because we got some more things to probably depict on this one, number 62. But if I scroll, all this these maps pertaining to the kings. I'm sorry if there's a little delay. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So number 60, they even see the chapters that it talks about. So now if you look here, where it says the Amorite dynasty, map number 60 on this thing, we're focusing on this little event here, where you see like a red dot with two swords going through, which represents a battle according to this key on the left, where it says Ahab defeats Ben-Hadad, right, who is the current ruler of Syria, as we're going to read in 1 Kings 20. According to scholars, check out the Zondervan, there was more than one Ben-Hadad. As far as those that are referred to as Ben-Hadad, it's not really like a title per se, but just a
a name that comes up more than once for rulers of Syria or the Aramites, and they say this would be the second, or Ben-Hadad the second, to not confuse him with other Ben-Hadads. But anyway, this is where the battle takes place, east of the Sea of Galilee, and as we're going to find out, it's going to be an exchange between Ahab and this Ben-Hadad who's ruling over the Syrians. And we'll get into their exchange and what it means and what it ends up leading to. And then pretty much how Ahab responds, given the events and how they take place, or how they transpire as far as this battle and his victory, and what he does in light of this victory. Okay, so now 1 Kings chapter 20, in verse 1. Okay. Yeah, like I said, sorry if it's kind of choppy. Make sure I don't have any. Turn my Wi-Fi off just in case. Okay, so downloads start running. Start trying to pull up the internet connection. But 1 Kings chapter 20 in verse 1, it reads, "And Ben-Hadad, or Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his hosts together, and there were 32 kings with him, and horses and chariots, and he went up and besieged Samaria and warred against it." Right, so the other side of Galilee, look at the map, you see where that chief city Samaria, which was set up going back to 1 Kings 13, right? 12 and 13, where we see Jeroboam breaking away from Rehoboam and establishing the northern kingdom, and then them setting up Samaria as a capital, as you read on later. So they besieged their capital city and warred against it. It says, "And he sent messengers to Ahab, king of Israel, into the city, and said unto him, Thus said Ben-Hadad, or Ben-Hadad, Thy silver and thy gold is mine, thy wives also and thy children, even the goodliest are mine." So talking big trash, they say, right? Saying, yeah, all that's yours, that's mine. I'm coming for it. Verse 4, "And the king of Israel answered and said," talking about Ahab, "My lord, O king, according to thy saying, I am thine and all that I have." So, interesting response from the king of Israel. He says, by all means, myself and my possession is yours. Right? So this kind of makes you think of, what does it say in Proverbs 15? Get that real quick. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 1, to go with 20 and 4 of 1 Kings. So Proverbs 15 and 1, it reads, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." Right? So typically this is true, but we'll see how Ben-Hadad responds, right, to Ahab's response. But now back at 1 Kings 20, now in verse 5, it says, "And the messengers came again and said, Thus speaketh Ben-Hadad, saying, Although I have sent unto thee, saying, Thou shalt deliver me thy silver and thy gold and thy wives and thy children, yet I will send my servant unto thee tomorrow about this time." It says that so we saw with Jezebel making that threat to Elijah. This time tomorrow, this is going to happen, right? As far as threats. "And they shall search thine house and the house of thy servants, and it shall be that whatsoever is pleasant in thine eyes, they shall put it in their hand and take it away." Right? So just adding more insult to injury. Yeah, you can say those niceties all you want, but I'm coming for what you got. Verse 7, "Then the king of Israel called all the elders of the land and said, Mark, I pray you, and see how this man seeketh mischief," talking about Ben-Hadad. "For he sent unto me for my wives and for my children, for my silver and for my gold, and I denied him not." Right? I supplicated. I said, yeah, what's mine is yours. "And all the elders and all the people said unto him, Hearken not unto him, nor consent." Right? So don't listen to his demands. Don't consent to his demands. Right? We need to resist. 9. Wherefore he said unto the messengers of Benhadad, tell my lord the king, talking about Benhadad, all that thou didst send for to do, thy servant at the first I will do, but this thing I may not do. And the messengers departed and brought him word again. So now that was his response. Let's see what Benhadad says in response to that now. And Benhadad sent unto him and said, the gods do so unto me, and more so, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for handfuls for all the people that follow me. So more heavy trash talk, right? I'm gonna level you. I'm gonna level this place, right? And even the remains won't be enough. So I was laughing because I see this similar expression that we see back in the last chapter, where they say, "So what the gods do to me, and the more also," right? But it's just like, okay, yeah, but you got false gods. We know those things won't defend you in the end, especially when you're dealing with Israel that's trusting in the Lord, especially. But yeah, they'll have victories as long as we're not doing what we're supposed to do. It says in verse 11, the king of Israel answered and said to him, tell him, let not him that girdeth on his harness boast himself as he that putteth it off. Right? It's pretty much saying, person is pretty much ready to go. Don't let him boast himself as one that like takes it off, like not willing to fight or not going to fight. So that didn't go too well, right? If the goal was to try to come to some sort of terms or agreement. So it's pretty much like, well, looks like this fight's unavoidable. 12, and it came to pass when Benhadad heard this message as he was drinking, he and the kings in the pavilions, and this is referring to those 32 kings from earlier, that he said unto his servants, set yourselves in array, and they set themselves in array against the city. So we see as Benhadad's kind of very kind of carefree attitude, just like, yeah, you get the guys ready, where to go and take them out. He's not even like getting himself ready for war. He's still just enjoying his nice time with his fellow kings, saying, yeah, we'll make light work of these Israelites. We'll take them out. We got a lot more than them, and we're going to add to our coffers once we get done with these guys. So he seems very lackadaisical, very unconcerned, and we'll see how that's going to play out as we read on. 13, and behold, there came a prophet unto Ahab, king of Israel, saying, thus saith Yahweh, hast thou seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into thine hand this day, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. The prophets tell him to tell Ahab, this host is coming against you from the Syrians or the Aramites. I'm going to deliver it into your hand. You're going to win. And Ahab said, by whom? And he said, thus saith Yahweh, even by the young men of the princes of the provinces. And he said, who shall order the battle? And he answered, thou. Right? So King Ahab getting the who, what, and the wheres and whens, right? Okay, it's going to be by me, and by what means will we do it, right? It's pretty much getting the instruction from the Lord as far as how to go about it. We see that with the past kings too, right? Where the Most High will give kings instructions from a prophet, and then the king will inquire more as far as the manner in which the Most High intends for this king to do whatever he asks or requests of him. So he's going to do it. He's going to do it by these princes of these provinces in the northern kingdom. 15, and when he numbered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and there were 232, and after them he numbered all the people, even all the children of Israel, being 7,000. So they've got themselves a force too. We'll see how it measures up against the Syrian or the Aramite force. So 232 captains, 7,000 soldiers altogether. And he went out at noon, but Benhadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the kings. The 32 kings that helped him, like we read about in the first couple of verses, right? So he came out to meet him early on, right? Noontime. Remember he said, by this time tomorrow, right? But like I said, Ben-Hadad, he doesn't seem too concerned. Him and his kings just, enjoying themselves. Like, yeah, these guys, we'll make short work of them. Whatever. Let's enjoy our drinks. Let's have a good time. Verse 17, and the young men of the princes of the provinces went out first, and Ben-Hadad sent out, and they told him, saying, there are men come out of Samaria. Instead of giving them words, saying, look, they got guys that are actually coming out to fight. I don't know if it's going to be like just easy peasy, like we thought. So these young men of the princes of the provinces came out of the city, and the army which followed them, and they slew every one his man, and the Syrians fled, and Israel pursued after them. And Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, escaped on a horse with the horsemen. And the king of Israel went out and smote the horses and chariots, and slew the Syrians with a great slaughter. So Israel kicked their behinds. And just imagine, Ben-Hadad getting away, probably still with a stupor, right? Like, oh shoot, here they come. Ready my getaway horse, right? So he got away, but what do he has to be thinking now? Taking the situation so lightly, and he just got his behind kicked. But let's see what happens next. And the prophet came to the king of Israel and said unto him, go, strengthen thyself and mark, and see what thou doest, for at the return of the year the king of Syria will come up against thee. It's not a prophet coming to Ahab and saying, look, he's going to be back. Make sure you're ready, right? And the servants of the king of Syria said unto him, their gods are gods of the hills. Therefore, they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. So you look at warfare, right? Whether it's ancient or modern, right? Terrain's an important piece when it comes to fighting. To know the land that you reside on, and to know the land or the territory of your enemy. And to know that your enemy knows the land very well and can oftentimes fight well when it comes to lands or regions that they know a lot more intimately than, say, you as the invading force. But we hear part of this counsel is practical, but then the other part is like, what? Gods of the hills, right? Okay. So it's like strategy, but based on idolatry, like going into what wickedness the northern tribes had. When the other nations have been saying, oh, the God of Israel fights for them. But clearly we see it was known that the northern tribes were dealing with high places. Hence them sitting down and after doing the examination of the kingdom of Israel to fight against it, they had to look at, okay, what are their strengths and weaknesses so we can figure out a weak point to break through. But it was known, their gods are gods of the hills. So that's kind of unfortunate. It should be a thing where they said, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob fights for them, or their God singular, right? But all in all, they're putting together the strategy to see if they can take them on the plane, and that they would have the advantage, as opposed to, their false gods giving them the advantage on hilly country. But you read that, like I said, in different books that deal with law. I know famous ones like Art of War, where they talk about that by Sun Tzu, where they talk about they talk about it in levels as far as the best campaigns. The first one, of course, being annexation, where you don't fight anyone at all, you just acquire them because the people you're fighting against realize, okay, we're not strong enough to fight you. We'll just submit, and then allow us to keep our things intact, and we'll just agree to your terms, or we'll come to terms. And they say that on the very opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to campaigns is trying to besiege or fight against walled cities. They say that can become very expensive when you're fighting against an enemy who's well protected and like dug in, right? Has a high elevation, so you got the high ground, right? That can become very expensive for an invading force. And then somewhere in the middle, you have, beating your enemy on the open field. It's kind of what they're talking about here. But it's like kind of a range as far as like best campaigns to worst campaigns when it comes to you being a king or a general, right? But anyway, reading on in verse 24, it says, and do this thing, take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their rooms. And number they an army like the army that thou hast lost, horse for horse and chariot for chariot. We will fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. And he hearkened unto their voice and did so. This is their respond counsel as far as how they would retaliate given this great slaughter they suffered. So they got to arm themselves up to pretty much replace all the men that they lost with this past slaughter we read about in a couple of the verses above. They meet them in the open field. It says, and it came to pass, I'm in verse 26 right now. It says, it came to pass at the return of the year that Ben-Hadad, just like the prophet told him back in verse 22, that Ben-Hadad numbered the Syrians and went up to Aphek to fight against Israel. And that was the map I showed you guys earlier, right? Where that region you saw that was east of the Sea of Galilee, right? As far as where that battle took place. That's what this Aphek is. And you kind of see in the title, kind of gave it away, right? Where it says victory. But yeah, but we'll see how the Most High manifests this victory on behalf of King Ahab. 27. And the children of Israel were numbered and were all present and went against them. And the children of Israel pitched before them like two little flocks of kids. But the Syrians filled the country, right? So look at those odds. We've seen these odds before, right? Where we got, few of us compared to the many of them, right? We know, we read it earlier, they got 232 princes, they said, and like 7,000 altogether. Well, we know when it comes to the Syrians, they come with at least tens of thousands, right? And probably more equipment too when it comes to like chariots and horses. But either way, is anything impossible for the Lord? Let's find out. 28. And there came a man of God and spake unto the king of Israel and said, thus saith Yahweh, because the Syrians have said, Yahweh is God of the hills, but he is not God of the valleys. Therefore will I deliver all this great multitude into thine hand. Ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Right? So, not so much for their righteousness per se, but for the foolishness of the Syrians' counsel, right? To say, oh, that's the reason why, we'll fight them and we'll beat them if we take them to the plain because their God protects them in the hilly country, right? That's why we lost. So Moses said, yeah, because of this counsel they had, thinking that that's why they won. I'm gonna now show my power by what? Having a similar thing happen that happened before, not only in the hills, but now in the plain as well, since they think they got an advantage. I'm gonna show them how foolish their plans actually are when you're trying to fight against me and my people. Reading on in verse 29, it says, and they pitched one over against the other 7 days. And so it was that in the 7th day, there's the 7 again, so we got another number. Number 7 comes up, right? We read the scriptures quite often. It says, the battle was joined, and the children of Israel slew the Syrians 100,000 footmen in 1 day. So check that out. So Mosiah was dealing with Israel, and that we had this crushing victory against the Syrians. Check that out. We already read our numbers versus theirs. We didn't really go into how all theirs were. It just says they filled the place. Look at that. 1 day, over 100,000. It says in verse 30, but the rest fled to Aphek into the city, and there a wall fell upon 27,000 of the men that were left. It says, and Ben-Hadad fled and came into the city into an inner chamber. Right? So we got the remains of those that survived that battle. And it says that Ben-Hadad, once again, fled and he found himself, I guess, a place he thought he would be safe. This little inner chamber here. So now reading on in 31, it says, and his servant said unto him, behold now, we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. Let us, I pray thee, put sackcloth on our loins and ropes on our heads and go out to the king of Israel. Peradventure, he will save thy life. So they're kind of taking that approach like we read earlier in Samuel's, right? Some months ago with was it Agag, king of the Amalekites, where he kind of came to Saul supplicating and said, surely the bitterness of death is past, right? In other words, like no hard feelings, right? So they're trying to supplicate themselves now after talking all that big trash. Now they want to say, all right, let's come and see if they'll have mercy on us. So it says in verse 32, so they girt sackcloth on their loins and put ropes on their heads and came to the king of Israel and said, thy servant Ben-Hadad saith, I pray thee, let me live. And he saith, is he yet alive? He is my brother. It says, now the men did diligently observe whether anything would come from him and did hastily catch it. So keeping a watch out, even though he's saying, peaceable things in response. Yeah, yeah, we're like family, right? No problem. But they said, all right, let's keep an eye out in case it's like an ambush or something, right? Which is wise, right? At least on their part. And they said, thy brother, Ben-Hadad. Then he said, go ye, bring him. Then Ben-Hadad came forth to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot, right? So, it's like like a peace talk after a battle, right? Where, might be like a place you might go to. In this case, it's a chariot where it's like more intimate. Kind of like today, you may say, okay, two warring factions meet with each other, say it's like gangs or whatever, or drug dealers or whatnot, and they say, okay, look, let's parlay. Let's have a seat in the back of the limousine. They sit back there and they start talking, parlaying, right? To see, what can come of the latest situation, to see if they can kind of work things out. That's what you got going on here. It's like, yeah, come in the chariot. Let's talk. 34. And Ben-Hadad said unto him, the cities which my father took from thy father, I will restore. And thou shalt make streets for thee in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria. And said Ahab, I will send thee away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him and sent him away, right? So now this king of Syria lays this out, and as like a gesture of supplication, and then also a gift of goodwill to a potential league between them now. So that was King Ahab's response to Ben-Hadad concerning this. Let's see what happens now as read on in 35. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said unto his neighbor in the word of Yahweh, smite me, I pray thee. And a man, sorry, let me read that from the top again. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said unto his neighbor in the word of Yahweh, smite thee, I pray thee. And the man refused to smite him. Then he said unto him, because thou hast not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, behold, as soon as thou art departed from me, a lion shall slay thee. And as soon as he was departed from him, a lion found him and slew him. So it's almost like we see the prophets, we see this happen before, where they do like symbolic gestures one with another, and he means something that's deeper as far as what they do, and then based on what the choices after they're offered the proposition. But now reading on, it says in 37, he found another man and said, smite thee, I pray thee. And the man smote him, so that in smiting he wounded him. So the prophet departed and waited for the king by the way, and disguised himself with ashes upon his face. And as the king passed by, he cried unto the king, and he said, thy servant went out into the midst of the battle, and behold, a man turned aside and brought a man unto me, and said, keep this man, if by any means he be missing. Then shall thy life be for his life, or else thou shalt pay a talent of silver. And as thy servant was busy here and there, he was gone. And the king of Israel said unto him, so shall thy judgment be. Thyself has decided it, right? So kind of judging on the fly with this situation that this man, the sons of the prophet, is presenting him, right? As far as this scenario, and keep in mind, the man is wounded at this point, so it looks very probable as far as what the man is telling King Ahab. So then it says, and he hasted, so this man is going to kind of guys take down the ruse at this point, and took the ashes away from his face. The king of Israel discerned him that he was one of the prophets. So now, imagine King Ahab's look now, where it's just like, wait a minute, oh, I recognize you. What does this whole story mean? Oh no, don't tell me it's some sort of judgment for what happened. Let's find out. Between him and Benhadad. It says, and he said unto him, thus saith Yahweh, because thou hast let go out of thy hand a man whom I appointed to utter destruction, therefore thy life shall go for his life, and thy people for his people. So it was like kind of maybe makes you think back with David, right, where you had Nathan come to him about the man who took the it was a dispute between men, and then one man had an ewe lamb, only one ewe lamb, the other man had a whole bunch, and he said, I want to take that one ewe lamb of my neighbor and take it for myself. And then David was like, yeah, judge that man, right? Condemn him. He's like, that man was you. It's kind of like a similar thing where this prophet came to him, like a commoner did with the situation. Ahab none the wiser, and then once Ahab kind of gave his judgment on the situation, that's when the prophet kind of stopped feigning, like putting on like the act, and wiped his face, and was like, yeah, guess what? Guess what happened? Mosai saw what happened between you and Benhadad because you let him go and then tried to make a league or peace with him. Now it's going to happen to you. You're going to get destruction now. So it's kind of interesting, right? Because from a carnal standpoint, you might look at this and say, yeah, you want to find peace at every point, even if an enemy clearly does you wrong, you want to try to find peace. But that may or may not be the case, depending on what the other side has done when you go into the laws of war when it comes to the Most High, right? Especially when the Most High directly comes in and tells you, like he did in times past, like say with King Saul dealing with Ahab and the Amalekites. And we see here with the Benhadad, a similar scenario between him and King Ahab. So I'll read 42 again. He said unto him, thus saith Yahweh, because thou hast let go out of thine hand a man whom I have appointed to utter destruction, therefore thy life shall go for his, and thy people for his people. And the king of Israel went to his house heavy and displeased, and came to Samaria, right? Which I would be too, like, oh man, here I go, thinking I was doing good by breaking bread, not breaking bad like that show, but breaking bread with the king of Assyria. King of Syria, not Assyria, my bad. Two different countries, two different nations. And, accepting his offer for peace. So we'll see how things go for King Ahab going forward when we get into the next couple chapters, but we'll actually come to the end here. But once again, an interesting story. When we go into the Kings and the Chronicles, which will repeat some of these stories and cover details that the Kings didn't as you go forward, at least on these days. As far as the Most High's Bible being a law book, to put it in modern day perspective, it's kind of like a case law, if you will, where you go to law school and you study cases where, okay, you might learn, okay, there's a statute that says you're supposed to say or do this in a situation in the state of wherever, or it's a federal law, right, or within this municipality of the city. And here's an example of said law being followed or not followed. Here's the judgment that took place. So we can think of Kings as like case law as far as the scriptures are concerned, where you look at these different cases, whether it be kings or commoners, prophets, priests, right, and what they did in certain situations and what the outcome was, and reflect on it and learn from it, right? So we can, not make similar mistakes or learn from mistakes of the past of those that came before us, whether it be our people or even with the other nations too.
And also the moral of the story is, if we don't want the Most High to rule over us, somebody gonna have to rule over us, and the Most High will give us away to the other nations, which is what's happening to us, today. So if those who are not willing to follow the law and follow what the Most High says, and the Most High just gives you over to another nation to rule over you, because somebody got to be in rulership.
Okay. Well put.
Yeah.
Where's the precept where he was supposed to kill Ben-Hadad?
I think we read it before you came. Hold on. We read it before you. Let me see.
I mean, not unless it was understood you're supposed to kill your enemies. Like when Saul didn't kill, what's the what's his name?
Agag.
Yeah, when he didn't kill Agag, he had already told him to kill everybody.
Uh-huh.
So Saul, but where did God tell him to kill Ben-Hadad? Or it's just understood he was supposed to kill him because he killed all of them because he was threatening them and had all the men killed.
Yeah, I think because of the latter. But I'll check again to see if it might come up in the next chapter if we didn't read it already.
Oh.
It's like Most High will not leave his glory to anyone, even to our people who try to find, glory for themselves. Right? Even the other nation, when they get, over their head, they think that it's them that's ruling over us with their own strength.
Right.
The Most High will bring them down.
Yeah.
Right? So the Most High don't want us to even, because that's why all glory is to Most High, where it says in the prayer, for thine belong the power, the glory forever, month. Meaning the Most High would not leave his glory to anyone, even us, if we try to, usurp our authority outside of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the second time, I understand why he destroyed Ben-Hadad kingdom, because he made that gesture that he was just the god of the hills. But what was the first reason he destroyed Ben-Hadad army? Just to protect Israel?
Well, if you go back to verse 13, it says, "And behold, there came a prophet unto Ahab, king of Israel, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, hast thou seen all this great multitude? I was delivered into thine hand this day, to know I am Yahweh." Then he tells him how he's going to do it, right? Through his princes, right? His 232 princes.
Right.
And then he says, and you're going to order the battle to do it, right? Where it says, "Who shall order the battle?" He says, "Thou." And he put pretty much the battle in array. It talks about Ben-Hadad being less than interested. Him and his top 32 kings is drinking, having a good old time.
Yeah, because what I'm trying to figure out, he defeated Ben-Hadad for Ahab, but Ahab wasn't no righteous king. So I guess he was just doing it for all Israel. Because he just had to destroy all them prophets, right? In the chapters before that, he destroyed all those prophets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Ahab's wife threatened my man, talking about he gonna get killed. So why was God defending? I guess he was just defending Israel because it was Israel, not Ahab.
And for the things that they said against him. So real quick, go to Deuteronomy chapter 9. Because a similar thing was stated when we had to go against the Canaanites, right? These aren't Canaanites, but it's a similar scenario. But go to Deuteronomy chapter 9 real quick. And you can start from verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Hear, O Israel, thou art to pass over Jordan this day, to go into possess nations greater and mightier than thyself, cities great and fenced up to heaven, a people great and tall, the children of the Anakims, whom thou knowest, and of whom thou hast heard say, who can stand before the children of Anak? Understand therefore this day that the Lord thy God is he which goes over before thee as a consuming fire he shall destroy them, and he shall bring them down before thy face. So shalt thou drive them out and destroy them quickly, as the Lord has said unto thee.
Right. So now it's gonna get interesting. Keep going.
Speak not thou in thy heart after that the Lord thy God has cast them out from before thee, saying, for my righteousness the Lord has brought me in to possess this land. Let me just think on that. Okay, he was saying that it ain't because of your righteousness that I brought you in this land, but for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord do drive them out from before thee.
Keep going.
Well, that's really the answer. But go ahead.
You can stop at verse 6.
Okay. Not for thy righteousness, or for the uprightness of thy heart, doest thou go to possess their land, but for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord thy God doeth drive them out from before thee, and that he may perform the word which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand, therefore, that the Lord thy God giveth thee not this good land to possess it for thy righteousness, for thou art a stiff-necked people.
Right. It's kind of messed up, but
Okay, right.
Hey,
Wow.
but,
I mean, it's the truth.
Exactly.
Them niggas didn't deserve it. We didn't deserve it, but because there's other people wickeder than us, he gave it to us. Because we outweighed them and wicked. Well, they outweighed us in wickedness. So that's why.
Hebrews, brother, Hebrews.
What's that?
Hebrews.
Hebrew what?
Say just you can just say Hebrews. These Hebrews.
Instead of niggas?
Yes.
Okay, that's all right. Now, okay, so that was part of their wickedness. That's what. So that was still in effect. We were still taking over that land.
Right, because when you read it in the past chapters, it been that at one point, right, the more they invade Israel because we were wicked. This time they wanted to do it in their own accord, right? The Syrians, they wanted to do it in their own accord, and because they had become very big and they become high-minded, so they think it was them. So that's why they made the statement. The Most High is the Most High of the
hills,
of the hill, but not of the valley.
Right.
They got they thought they thought they did it, but it was the Most High that instituted it before, because we were wicked back in 1 Kings 15 and 18. Right? We were wicked, and the Most High gave us over. But this time they got so big, they think they got it.
Right.
Okay, so that was 1 Kings 15, 18.
15, 18 to 20. That's why the Most High would not give His glory to anyone. Yeah, you got big because they sinned against me before, but I'm not gonna let you, trump over them, and finish them like that, because that's not gonna be good on my side, because they my people. Because that's what Moses told them, right? If you did these people like that, then people are gonna look at you. What kind of God are you? This is your people. You're doing, like that.
Yeah, don't bring us out in the wilderness just to destroy us.
Right.
How would that look? Deliverance to just be killed? I was going to read it before, but since you guys had the deeper questions, I guess I'll read this. This is just the Benadad entry in his Zondervan. You guys probably remember in the beginning I mentioned this would be Benadad II, whereas the Benadad you're talking about is his father. Remember when they had their sit down, they were talking about our father is, the same way you did this for my father, I'm going to do this for your father. It's kind of like a succession thing. We saw something like that too with the where David and Ammon kind of broke ways. Remember, because he was cool with the Ammonite king, but then his son, they didn't. They said his son wasn't the same as his father, right? He was cool with the dad, but he started to break bread with the son. The son's servants were like, "Oh, they're here to spy on us. This, that, and the third. Don't trust them." Remember? Right. And he sent the servants away with the beards half cut off. So it was like sometimes, as you go to the next in line, whether it be a son or the next ruler, You know, you can't maintain that same peace you might have had with the previous one.
David subdued the Syrians,
Mm-hmm.
right? Subdued them, then we mess up again. Then
Well, I'm talking about when he subdued the Ammonites. Well, at least had like a league with the Ammonites. But he fought the Syrians too, right? That was a different situation. But this is Benadad, right?
And what the Assyrians and the Syrians are both Hebrews, right?
They're both Shemitic.
Shemitic.
They come from Shem.
Shem, but not Hebrew.
Right. They're older than us. You go to Genesis chapter 10, it tells you Shem had Arphaxad. We come from Arphaxad. But he also had Aram. He's the father of the Syrians. He also had a man named Asher, Asshur. He's the father of the Syrians. Not to be confused with the Syrians without that. They're the Aramites, or the children of Aram. That's what we're talking about today, the Aramites.
the Syrians comes after.
So they even go back before Ishmael.
Like what was it when they were when Jacob was hanging out with Uncle Laban?
Yeah.
Remember the region he was in was called Padan Aram.
Yeah.
We were saying earlier, anytime a place starts with the word beer, it just means this, the wells of. So beer Sheba means the wells of Sheba. But Padan Aram is kind of funny because we're already talking trash about. Yeah, we'll be able to beat them in the plain. We can't beat them in the hills. We can beat them in the plain. Padan Aram, where Laban resided, where Jacob was at for all those years, working for him and stuff, that literally means the plains of Syria. Because Aram is the father of the Aramites. So Padan Aram, you go back to Genesis, literally means the plains of Syria. So yeah, the names of persons and places kind of tells its own little tale. You know, you kind of look into the names of the places and what they mean. You know. Yeah.
That's what makes the.
That's deep, but down around the plain of Aaron, it just makes sense.
Right. See, when we understand the scriptures from a historical perspective, from a law perspective, we kind of get the understanding it's about rulership.
Right.
It's not about religion.
Right.
It's about kingdom.
Exactly.
It's about government.
Yep. Government and judgment. Yep.
Right. So, and
Absolutely.
you get to the idea that when we sit here and learn these things, we learn our history and what's going to happen in the future. Now everything makes sense, right?
Right.
But if we get the idea from religious perspective, from a Christianity doctrine perspective, everything is just all confusing.
Yeah, that's true. So this is Ben Hadad. Yeah. So the name is titular as opposed to a proper name like Pharaoh for Syrian rulers. Ben-Hadad I was contemporary with Asa, king of Judah. That was the scripture you quoted earlier, 1 Kings 15 and verse 18. It is plausible that he is to be identified with Rezin, the founder of the kingdom of Damascus, and it cites 1 Kings 11, 23 to 25. Asa, which you already read about King Asa, right? We did him a couple weeks ago. Was sternly reprimanded for his unfortunate alliance with Ben-Hadad I, 2 Chronicles 16 and 7, which we'll revisit that again when we get into Chronicles. Then it says Ben-Hadad II was in all probability the son of Ben-Hadad I. He is the Hadadezer of the monuments, contemporary with Ahab of Israel, against whom he waged war, laying siege to the newly constructed capital of Samaria. Ahab refused to capitulate. With divine aid, he was able to utterly rout the Syrian army at the battle of Aphek. And it references what we read today. Then it says he spared the life of Ben-Hadad, thus never fully realizing the victory which otherwise would have been his. So he even got it right in his honor, man. You know, not bad. Sometimes they be messing stuff up.
So it's like if when we know the scriptures, that's where you become proficient in foreign relations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Foreign policies, right? Because now we're getting the original understanding of those nations, how to deal with them, a deeper understanding as opposed to surface understanding of half-assed history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's what's the beautiful thing when it comes to law, because law covers, all aspects. When we're talking about case law, like we're reading here, which is like history of laws either being kept or not kept, and looking at pretty much at records to see how the judgment went down for that situation. When we're talking about like transactional history, right? Like going back through records and saying, okay, you know, looking at the books and saying who bought what from who and for how much, under what circumstances. We got the scriptures that have that too, right? As far as like invoices, receipts, if you will, or say, okay, Abraham sat down with the children of Heth and then bought this land for, so many pieces of silver for his gravesite, for his wife Sarah's gravesite. So you have that evidence, what I mean, written. So yeah, laws govern, all aspects of our life. So yeah, it's the best way to present the scriptures as a legal document,
Yeah.
or a law book that pretty much covers all aspects when it comes to interactions with people.
Yeah, kind of like when we were in Tobit, and he had an agreement.
Yeah.
Set up
Mhm.
to watch over his money,
Mhm.
and that's big. We may not think of it that way. That's big because, like, when the world is going down. For example, in the time where they lived, it was very unstable, right? Unstable. Now you need somebody to trust with your finance or with your money while you are running about and doing your thing, right? What best to go to somebody who know the law, who know your law, how to deal with each other, have them, be the confidant over your finances, just in case if something were to happen, right? Right now, we just give it to the bank because we keeping the law. We don't know how to look out for each other. Let's say if I have this amount of gold, watch over this one. If anything happens to me, do this, do this, do this, to,
Mhm.
for my family. Instead, you give it to the bank.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you're right. Last will and testament, right? Last will and testament. It's funny as we were talking about Padan Aram, as I'm looking at this definition for Benadad, I'm seeing Beersheba here as well. And I guess we're about to wrap up. I guess I'll read this too, because I know Beersheba came up in like 1 Kings 19. That being the place where pretty much Elijah set sail. I guess say it's not set sail, but pretty much got away on foot after hearing that there's pretty much a warrant out for his death. Like I guess you could say shoot on sight, kill on sight. That was ordered from Jezebel. But then, right on the previous page, it says for Beersheba, it says location the most southerly town in the kingdom of Judah. Hence, and I showed you guys that on the map when we first started out at the bottom of Israel, or I should say the kingdom of Judah, which was in the south. It says the most southerly town in the kingdom of Judah, hence its practical boundary line, the familiar expression from Dan to Beersheba, which you see that come up in scriptures a lot, which pretty much means like, from, like we would say today, from coast to coast, from East Coast to West Coast, like here in North America. So for Israel, we would say from Dan to Beersheba, meaning from the top of the land all the way to the bottom. Then it says, is employed to designate the northern and southern extremities of the nation. Then it says, religious and historical background, Hagar wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba as she fled from before her mistress, Sarah. It references Genesis 21 and 14. So that's the same place where that happened. Then it says, Abraham made a covenant with the Philistine princess here, Genesis 21:32, and made this his residence after the offering of Isaac, Genesis 22 and 19. And it says, God appeared here to Jacob on his way down into Egypt and to be reunited to his son Joseph. It references Genesis 46 and 1. Then we get up to the time that we're in right now. Elijah the prophet sought refuge in Beersheba from the wicked queen Jezebel, 1 Kings 19 and 3. So, it's interesting how certain things happen in certain places, like on the left-hand side, people say, don't go to that place over there. Don't go to those woods. Or don't go to that house. It's haunted. The people that lived there before went into some weird stuff. Or don't go to that land because, the indigenous people were into some weird stuff. They put some kind of spell there, or they did some kind of, medicine work or whatever. And that place is, haunted. But we see that same thing can be for righteousness too when it comes to certain locations, right? Certain things that go down in a certain location. It says the prophet sought refuge in Beersheba from wicked Queen Jezebel. Then you go down, it says the prophet Amos was constrained to rebuke the idolatrous tendencies which he saw infiltrating into the religious life of Beersheba from Bethel and from Dan. References Amos 8 and 14. He says the modern name for Beersheba is Bir-es Seba. So if we go there, go to Israel now, that's what the place will be called, Bir-es Seba. But yeah, we didn't get to Amos yet. You know, it'll probably be a couple years from now, right? We might get to yeah, maybe a year or so. We get out the Chronicles and get into the well, we got the wisdom books first. Then we got the prophets. So it's going to be a while before we get to Amos, at least in the Sabbath service. But yeah, interesting stuff. And you look at these places where things happen. I know we're talking about, I think in the class you guys are going into Judah, the man, right? And how he knew a man from what is it, Adullam, which that place Adullam, where where Judah would go to that with that. I think he said he was a Canaanite to go shear sheep. That would be the same. There would be a cave in that same place. That's where David would hide from Saul, and the Most High would begin to build up David's forces, right? To kind of give him a resistance force to help him out. It was that same region of Adullam. So certain places, you know, you see a name of a place, you know, just check out the Zondervan on it, or just look it up. You know, what happened at this place? You know, sometimes you'll see certain things happen in sequence, and like one of the big places that's going to be important coming up is Megiddo, which we'll read about Megiddo again as we go through Kings. That's going to be a significant place in that part of Israel as we get closer and closer to the day when Christ makes the second coming, right? There's a lot of history in that place, Megiddo, or the valley of Megiddo. In Israel, we know it's going to be the place where the World War III kicks off. But as you go through Kings, and get to Josiah in particular, that Megiddo will come back up. And I think we'll see it before then too. But I'll leave that for when we get there. So yeah, persons and places oftentimes have a history behind them that's good to look into. So yeah, we just read Zondervan, page 75, which was the Ben-Hadad entry, and then we read 73 in the Zondervan for the Beersheba entry. All right, and then we'll make it end here unless anyone else has any other questions or comments. Okay, so with that, we'll say Ashar Shabbat. Hope everybody was edified during today's lesson. So hopefully we enjoyed the lesson and learned from it. This example of, I guess, case law, if you will, when it comes to our forefathers and these other nations and our interactions with them, and what the outcome was based on decisions made on both sides. Remember, as we discussed last night, we're in the 8th day, right, for the 12th month. You know, next week, namely starting Wednesday at sundown, is going to be beginning of a chain link of holy days, right, of celebrations. Wednesday at sundown, next week going to be the day of Judas, and then followed by the days of Purim, Thursday night and Friday night, leading into the next Sabbath of next week. So make sure you guys keep that on the radar. We'll be televising from here, most as well, on those different nights. Probably Sunday night, I'll probably send out a message, since it'll be about 3 days ahead, just as a reminder about the day of Judas that's coming up. So yeah, keep that posted. Let me do our housekeeping real quick too, as far as the banners go. So if you ever want to listen in on a teleconference, if you don't know already, I posted at the bottom our phone number, which is 667-770-1085, as well as our meeting time, which is 7 to 10, Tuesday evenings and Friday evenings. And if you guys have someone that you're inviting on, if you want me to add to a distribution when I send out the messages, just text me, let me know. I can have their number as I have been. So yeah, 667-770-1085 with conference line or conference code 52455. Let's make sure wherever Kahan are doing that class, that at least one of the Kanya that are on the profitabletalks.com or the Zoom, which I'm to share with you here. Make sure we always want to make sure we keep both lines open, right? Because sometimes we might have issues with the Zoom, or we might have an issue with the phone line. But we'll make sure to keep both open, so we always have one that we can fall back on. Third, obviously, being coming in person if you're able. But that would be the link to go onto Zoom. ProfitableTalks.com. I don't think you have to add the www anymore. It should still take you there. It should still know to take you where you need to go. And if it asks you to sign in, because I know in some cases folks aren't being asked to, some are. Just use your if you have a Gmail that you use, you just use that and just say continue with Google, and just go in that way. And we want to create a whole new password for Zoom. You just use your Google account. As far as donations go, here's our physical address. If you want to send a check or money order. So Hayat Charlotte Canaz, same way you see it spelled, 3826B, Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19140. So make it out to that and that address. And if you want to make out a donation or a tithe or contribution towards a holy day for us making preparations, not only can you send it here through check or money order, you can also send it online at these sources: paypal.me/HYK12, as well as HaKanaz on Cash App, as you see it spelled there. So once again, paypal.me/HYK12, HaKanaz on Cash App. And as always, like and share the video to get the word out as we and other branches of Christ expand to bring this word out to as many as possible, right? The beauty being there's so many branches of us out there. You always got a place that you can go to, right? That resonates with your spirit. Maybe different things that different camps may bring out, but the whole idea is the principles that we align, those principles, which unfortunately we struggle with. Let's make sure we align in principle when it comes to the keeping the commandments, belief on Christ, the milk of the word, right? We should all agree on that. When it comes to the dark sayings and parables, okay, we can ponder those things. What we ultimately need is that milk, those foundational understandings as far as, like I was saying before, keeping the commandments as well as applying the fruit of the Spirit. So you continue to spread the word out there about our branch and other branches that are teaching this truth as it is written. I think I saw a hand in the back. Oh, okay. All right. So we'll say Shar Shabbat, which means happy Sabbath. Brothers and sisters, we'll do the closing prayers now. And most times we'll talk to everybody this upcoming week for the Tuesday class. And then after that, the day of Judas and the days of Purim that follow shortly after. So Shar Shabbat once again. Thanks for being with me, given my I sound kind of nasal today, given my body's resistance to whatever cold I'm overcoming right now. But with that, we'll do the closing prayers, and we'll see you then. So Shar Shabbat, let's get those going.
Barak Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, Asherah, Thananawa, Pari Agapin, Thwada Man. La Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, Ath Yasherah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, with Israel. And my wa, Panywa, Yerushalayim, standard base Jews. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Babakushai Shemai Lanawe Aifed Yem I Aifed Shalak Mike Allah Wala Alahayim Tazwadakim La Shema Ayu Barak Rabha Magan Wa Chaziyak Banya Yash Allah Washalak Lanawe Rabian Kakamed Rabian Da'ait Rabian Bayanite Rabian Sabalanwa Rabian Mamawan Rabian Aqua Rabian Mahabian Rabian Haganite Rachanaye Wasalak Ko Katayamnawe La Akim Wa Akiwak Wayash Ale Thamyed Waiwalam Dashan Yehoshek the water Amen. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins. For the brothers, sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Four corners. Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Wabat Yasaparim, Shemai, Yasharale, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Aphek. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us in Israel in the house of books. Then we said, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Once again, a Shah Shabbat, Wa, Manakah Tawab, since the afternoon, good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath day, and we'll be talking to you this upcoming week. Shalom.
Wow.